Hello shooters. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Invincibility lies in the defense and the possibility of victory in the attack. Sun Tzu. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. We're losing the battle of our individual freedoms. We're losing the battle because we've failed to adhere to the principles taught by Sun Tzu. In the public arena, we don't have an overarching strategy. We don't even have an offense. We only have a defense, and our defense is horribly lacking. Our tactics have been logic-based. Our tactics have been fact-based. I started a blog about this about 3 days ago, and I was going to write this as my blog, but I decided to do it as a YouTube video also. Our tactics so far have been the noise before defeat. Our tactics, unless we change them, will lead to more defeat. Our tactics are almost wholly defensive in nature. The other side throws out an emotional argument. They're always on the offense. We throw back facts and figures to defend our position, failing all the while to recognize that they don't care about our facts and our figures. They don't need truth to base their position off of. All they need is emotion. We think we did a good job of defending our position, only to be surprised at the fact that we were completely and 100% overrun. If we have any hope of garnering a victory, we must change our tactics. If we have any hope of garnering a victory, we have to change our strategy. So let's talk about first things first. First of all, we definitely do not understand our opposition. Our adversary's argument is emotion-based. Their whole argument is based upon feelings and not facts. Their emotional base is not rooted in fact. Their emotional base is very powerful without fact. However, what do we offer in return? Facts, figures, data, statistics, numbers. Let's look at the last election cycle. There were the conservatives, spouting off endless facts and figures, mathematically showing that 4 more years of Obama would lead us to total bankruptcy of our country. But what happened? The conservatives got soundly defeated. Obama's campaign was emotion-based. Obama's campaign was all about feelings. Obama's campaign was not fact-based. Obama's campaign was not rooted in truth. In other words, we're speaking a foreign language to our opposition, and they have zero interest in learning our language. Our statements fall on deaf ears. Our numbers are lost in the ether. Our facts are not even considered for a nanosecond. We think we have defended our position and are surprised when we find out that we were completely overrun. In order to be victorious in battle and politics, we must know ourselves and we must know our enemy. First, who is our opposition? We have 2 different categories or groups of people that compose the opposition. The first group is the power brokers in the media, Hollywood, music industry, news industry. And then there's Washington, D.C., the Pelosi's, the Feinsteins, the Obamas, the Clintons, blah, blah, blah. And then you have your labor union leaders, not the labor union members, but the labor union leaders. The upper echelons of police and fire departments. Then globally, we've got the George Soroses. And nearly everyone in every leadership position in nearly every country on the planet. And then we've got the UN to deal with. This group of people, they have no respect for our Constitution or our Bill of Rights, particularly the Second Amendment, and they would abolish it if they could. This group of people is our enemy. They are enemies of freedom. They are friends of tyranny and tyrants. It will do us no good to try and reason with this group of people. They are our enemy. And make no mistake, they don't want gun control. They want complete control. To reason or to try and make our case with this group of people is a waste of time, a waste of resources, a waste of breath, and it shows that we lack an understanding of who our enemy is. The only way we should engage this group of people, our enemy, is to defeat them. The second category of adversary is not our enemy. These people make decisions based upon emotion with little or no facts involved. These people are not in favor of repealing the Second Amendment. These people are in favor of what they call, reasonable gun control. These people are our neighbors and our friends. These people make up a sizable chunk of our nation. It is this sizable chunk of people that give power to our enemy. Without this sizable chunk of people, our enemy would be nearly powerless. This group of people are Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Catholics, Protestants, Jews, Mormons, black, white, tan, brown, union members, non-union members, blue collar, white collar, people that own guns, people that don't own guns, hunters, members of the NRA, members of the military, members of the law enforcement, doctors, lawyers, welders, machinists, mechanics, everybody. This large group of people think and act based primarily upon emotion. The enemy, remember who the enemy is. The enemy feeds this emotional decision-making process of this huge group of people. The enemy talks about feelings. The enemy knows that facts are not on their side, so they keep the discussion on the emotional level. Facts are never brought into play. The enemy has become so skilled at feeding the emotional discussion that many of our friends and neighbors don't even consider facts anymore. Good news, we outnumber our enemy. Bad news, the adversary outnumbers us. Good news, we can win a whole lot of the adversary over to our side. By winning the adversary over to our side, we defeat the enemy. Therefore, it will do us no good and will only do harm to our righteous cause if we engage our adversary with facts and figures. We will be seen as uncaring, emotionless, and to this group of people, to be perceived as uncaring is a horrible sin. So do not discuss fact and figures with this emotional group of people. It does our righteous cause only harm. There'll be a point in time for the facts and the figures when they see the light a little bit, get their heads out of the sand a little bit. They'll come along, but at first we need to engage them on an emotional level. Now that's admittedly hard for a lot of us to do, because a lot of us think in terms of logic, facts, figures, pros, cons. In fact, we try not to let emotion become part of our decision-making process. However, in order to win over our adversary and defeat our enemy, we must learn to engage our adversary, not our enemy. We must learn to engage our adversary on an emotional level. We have to speak their language. Side note, we have a winning strategy and winning tactics in the courts on the local, county, state, and national level. Why? Because courts deal with facts and logic, mostly. And we're good at that. But in the public arena, our tactics of using facts and figures will lead only to failure. We have to engage the adversary on an emotional basis, in other words, on the language they understand. So what is an example of engaging our adversary on an emotional level? Next time you hear somebody say, "But does anybody really need a magazine that holds 30 rounds?" We have to do an emotional redirect. we have to emotionally redirect them to say something along the lines, well, do you really need a house? And they'll probably say yes. Then you ask them, well, what do you feel you need a house for? Now notice I said the word feel and not think. People like you and me, we're going to say, well, what do you think you need a house for? That's not the language they understand. They understand the language of feelings. So instead of saying, what do you think, we need to ask, what do you feel? What do you feel you need a house for? And they're going to say whatever they say. But you'll be able to get them. You're going to use logic in the way you're going to lead them there, but it's going to be an emotional journey you're going to take them on. You're going to get them to the point where they understand that all a human needs is shelter, food, water, and to procreate. So all you truly need is some sticks covered by some leaves, by some water. There's always food near water. That's all you need. Everything else in life is a want. Everything. And you know, if they have an apartment, you need the same thing with apartments, cars, whatever. So whether or not a magazine holds 30 rounds or 10 rounds or 2 rounds or 100 rounds is immaterial, because it's not about needs. But let's go back to your car and your house. What if the government said the model of car you drive is the model that most drunk drivers drive, so starting tomorrow, the model of car you drive, your car, will be outlawed and will be impounded? How would you feel about that? Would it feel right? Do you feel it would be the American thing to do, for the government to do that? Oh, and the model of house you live in is the same model as most murderers live in. So starting tomorrow, you're banned from entering your home. How would you feel about that? Oh, and by the way, the model computer you're using is the same model that most pedophiles use. So as of tomorrow, your computer will be banned. You have to turn that in or you'll have to go to prison. How would you feel about that? Do you feel it would be right for the government to do that? Would it be considered American? How would most Americans feel about that? Well, that's how I feel regarding the Second Amendment. I feel when it says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, I feel that it means the government can't tell us as Americans what we can or cannot own. And when put that way, most Americans feel the same way. Okay, so do you see how we kept it on an emotional level? All right, shooters, we are in a fight for our freedom, not just our guns. We must emotionally engage our adversary and win them over to defeat our enemy. Please, if you agree with what I've said in this YouTube video, like it, share it, publish it. For situations where YouTube doesn't work, I'm going to post all these words that I've read on my blog. Share them, publish them as far and wide as possible. We have to defeat our enemy. We do that by removing his power base. We remove his power base by bringing the power base over to our side. We do that by speaking with them in terms and a language they understand, which is emotional based. Let's roll up our sleeves and go to work.